Do you think that Nigeria is ready for 2027 general election?
Well, the whole embrace of democracy is essentially because it brings about participation and accountability to the process of human development. Furthermore, the greatest promise of democracy is that it brings about peaceful transfer of power. So as the nation prepares for the 2027 elections, they all must get themselves ready for that election. Every election is a test. The 2027 election will be more than a test of our system, of our readiness to do the right thing for our country. Because, as I have noted in my speech here today, is that a democracy without the rule of law has in it a virus that will lead to a death. And that democracy must be one that must have a turnover for the people. But as we have come to see, in most parts of the African continent and in our country, democracy 27 years has worked more for the elite and not for the ordinary people. But we have no choice having embraced democracy. And so if you look at the subject today, whether political parties and judiciary can save African democracy is applicable to our situation. I have made the point over time that the will of the people expressed through the ballot should be determined finally and conclusively, at best at the last point of collation, but first at the polling unit, not in the court of law. Because it is the failure of politics that has led to what the retired Supreme Court Justice of England refers to as the expanding empire of the courts today in our country. Regrettably, painfully, judiciary is now being made to answer political questions. We have degenerated to a point where it is the courts that now determine who should be even candidates. In fact, we have even gone further to a state where whether political parties will participate in 2027 election is also going to be determined by courts. That is how the level of retrogression of our democracy. I spent 10 years with my colleagues in the INEC. We established systems. We developed tools. From the CARIDA to the current BVAS and IRF to address historical challenges of election service delivery. The greatest threat to our democracy today is the human agency, sabotage, compromise of the system. And so, beyond elections, beyond political parties and judiciary, is for us to pay attention to the EMB, the election management body. Over the years, we have failed to realize the primacy and the centrality of the EMB in most parts of Africa. Because the arrogance of people across the African continent, as we have noted, from survey carried out, the arrogance of people in power is on account of their control, the compromise of the EMBs in most African countries. If you cut off the source of arrogance by having a good umpire that is truly independent, of course, most of the political Egyptians you see in most parts of Africa, you see them no more. And we demonstrated it while we were in office. So when politicians say, oh, by 12 noon, the result would have been known because they were used to writing results. That was clear. Under my watch, with digital leadership, that was not going to happen. Those who made such statements could not even make it. You know that. So, you see, effective power to govern a democracy lies in legitimate authority through the mandate of the people. The fact that people feel that they can control an EMB in most African countries is the reason why they feel that they don't even need the people. In fact, they believe that they own the electorate. Because what gives spice and piquancy to the practice of democracy is the fact that on a periodic basis, citizens are in a position to exercise their residual sovereignty, having given part of their sovereignty in the last election, by making a choice by way of renewal of the journey of society. But as we go to 2027 election, my message is very clear. That success of democracy is based on the fact that all who have a role to play must play its own role. And that the EMB must act like Caesar's wife. And that all who have a role to play, particularly the security agencies, because in most developed worlds, election periods, which is a period to renew the journey of society, the renewal of policies, and those who have involved that policies, it's also a moment to test the commitments of the institutions of states in terms of their personnel to the ideal of democracy in that country. And so, whatever we want to make of our country, it's up to us. But for some of us, we feel very pained that processes, procedures that we develop after spending 20 years, they are being rolled back. But more painful is the fact that we are going for 2027 elections. You still have in the statutes a law, Section 138, that says that a presiding officer, pool officials of all categories that fails to abide by any regulation and guideline made pursuant to Section 160 of the Constitution, it shall not be a ground to nullify such election. What election are you expecting to see? Similarly, that when such individuals who have violated the electoral process, it shall also not be necessary to take them to court. You know, when it matters, a petition has been lodged at the tribunal, it shall also not be necessary to invite them to the court. So you could see that there's no accountability. A country where there's no accountability, electoral process, there will be no accountability. And the worst thing, that you have in the statutes a provision to the effect that a ballot paper that do not have the relevant security features of the ballot shall be counted. What election are you talking about? My clarion call to Nigeria. Nigerians, you have a responsibility to take over your country. 2027 election is coming. Go get your PVC. Go to the polling units. In numbers, after the result has been counted, make sure of whoever you want to vote for. All of you must proceed to the ward level. From the ward level to the last point of collation. Because the will of the people must govern. That is the only way we can sustain democracy. And for judiciary, that's my constituency. That occupies a very distinct position. An institution that is romanticized and elevated in constitutional design as the ultimate guarantor of justice. must stand tall and mighty in defense of democracy and the rule of law.
I want to ask you, the introduction of electronic devices in conducting elections, is it a blessing or is it wrong for Nigerians to use electronic devices like BVAS and others that were introduced, like with the elections we have had so far in the recent times, that BVAS or whatever be manipulated by the management of
a country must move from manual by embracing the benefit of ICT. It has huge benefits. Even in the 2023 elections, Okada rider that won election was on account of the innovations. We were designing a process such that it will be those who have something upstairs and not those who have something in their pocket that we can win elections. And that's what those innovations demonstrated in 2023. Such that as of electoral evils in a country, they could no longer have those things they used to do before. In riverine area where you used to have a tilapia, manners of fish used to vote, they could not. A society, an organization that fails to embrace the benefit of technology will be overtaken by the chaos of decay and decline. The challenge of technology is the human agency, sabotage. If you had elections, you transmit first one, second one, and the third one, and you switch it off for one reason or the other. That's not the problem with technology. It is the human agency, corruption. That's the problem we have. Otherwise, technology is a pathway. The whole idea of the IRF was to ensure that results declared the polling unit already put on the IRF for the empirical world to see, so that it will be difficult to change it, unlike the previous situation we used to have. So who said it didn't work? We had used it to conduct 105 elections, including 5 governorship elections, with no problem, before I left office on August 2022. My friend, technology is pathway. Nigerians must go out to vote and defend their vote, because that's the only way. Political parties, as we have come to see them in Nigeria, they are not ideological platforms. They are not platforms for programs and policies, but they are just mere vehicles by elites to capture power and have access to resources of the state and service elite networks and party supporters. This must change. And I think that some proposal that will come to be after the 2027 election, that some of us will make suggestions as some of the things that we are saying. Our intervention in February about the Electoral Act, nothing has happened. The Falcon no longer listens to the Falcon. We fought for democracy because there was no parliament. But today you now have a National Assembly that will conduct public hearing on an electoral and a statute so significant as that. But the outcome of the people rejected. This is where we are. Thank you.